What's up? It is a Wednesday, and we are back with another expert restaurant roundup. We got a guy who wrote a book. I think he was after my heart, putting the orange on the bottom. We're going to find out in a second. Let's go. Peter, my man, you're looking awful dapper and ready for Santa to come down the chimney.
Look at this. I have never owned a ugly Christmas sweater before. I live in Iowa City. So today, here's what I had to do. I had a little sty in my eye, I found out. I had to go to Quick Care. I had to go get drugs. I had to go to the bank. And then my wife needed me, so I went home. And I was able to walk that entire circuit in 10 minutes. Okay. And then she says, well, if you need an ugly Christmas sweater, just go over to Ragstock. And that's 100 yards from where I live. So I walked over there. And then I walked to work, which is 300 yards from there. I mean, I don't ever drive my car, except when I go to Martini's in Burlington. I drive, Kim's car sits in the basement of our building. I live in a 13-story building on the 11th floor, and we got this panoramic view of downtown Iowa City, the old Capitol building. I mean, we're just so lucky where we are. And I mean, who walks to work? You know, by the time I go down the building, across the parking lot, I'm 100 yards from home, and it doesn't matter what it's doing. If it's raining, snowing, sleet, hail, nothing. I don't care.
You're like the mailman.
I got it made. I mean, it's like
is that one of the 8 basic fundamentals to live within a minute of your restaurant to be ready for the crap that hits the fan?
You know, when we had Martini's, so Martini's is in a 7-story building, and I could have bought the 5th. I could have bought the whole floor, but I did buy the whole floor above us. But I was thinking about putting a condo and living up there. And the problem with that would have been, oh, Peter's not here. Okay, well, he's home. Yeah, well, I know where he is. Just walk up the steps and bang on my door. I'd never be able to get away. Yeah, I can get away here. And so we're doing really, really good. You know, last time we talked about 8 basic fundamentals, okay, which is a book. And I want to talk about that a little bit, but I don't want to spend too much time on that today, okay?
Okay.
But let me just start there, okay? And I'm going to try to do this in about 3 minutes.
So first, let me set the scene. You're Peter Harman. You're in your restaurant in Iowa, Lip City.
Right.
But you're also a person with a hell of a lot of knowledge about the restaurant business that wrote this book and can help some other owners out of some headaches, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And so what I find is that, now remember, everything that I'm going to tell you to do, everything that I talk to my clients about or any possible person on this world, I have the same exact problems you do. That's why I know how to solve them. Okay. I have the same exact problems everybody does. People call in sick. I had to fire somebody 3 weeks ago. Okay. And then that kicked 2 more out. Okay. And it was the greatest day of my life. Okay. I live in the restaurant business. I clean toilets. I sweep the floor. I mop the floor. I bread chicken lips. I'm trying to learn how to make pizza. Okay. But I'm not just making pizza anymore, Matt. I'm making frickin' pizza. Okay. And so I think this is a pretty good look. I'm very comfortable.
And I didn't tell you this, by the way, and I'll let you tell me your 3 minutes. I was at a friend's birthday party in Colorado about a month ago, and one of the guys there played for the Iowa Hawkeyes and knew about the restaurant because I said, I got a restaurant I know there. And he said he guessed because he said, yeah, they cater a lot of events for the team.
Ryan Bowen.
Was that his name? Gosh,
really tall guy, about 6'7".
Yeah.
Probably 45 years old.
Yeah.
He's one of the coaches for the Nuggets.
Okay.
Yeah. I've known Ryan Bowen. If it's Ryan Bowen, I've known him since he played high school basketball in Fort Madison.
Okay.
He married one of the most beautiful girls in the world, a former Iowa cheerleader. Smart kid. Awesome kid. So anyway, world. It is a very, very, very small world. And that's for that reason, you got to be careful what you say to people and how you treat them. Because you want to have people who like you.
Yep.
But you're not going to like everybody and they're not going to like you. No. But so anyway, here's the thing. Most restaurant owners, spend their day trying to do 1,000 different things. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're chasing their tail. They're shaving the axe. They're doing whatever it takes to get through the day. And at the end of the day, they've accomplished nothing. Okay. I found in my 40 years of restaurant work. So I grew up in Vermont. I went to what's known as the New England Culinary Institute. It wasn't called that then. It was 1975, 6, and 7. I was there. And so, now it's called the New England Culinary Institute. It's a pretty cool school. I learned the basics of restauranting. And then I went to Florida to play baseball, and I spent 20 years in Florida. And turns out I wasn't a good enough baseball player to play in the major leagues. And I like to drink beer too much. And I like St. Petersburg, Florida. You go to the beach, and there's girls in bikinis, and it was just like, Jesus, how do you focus? So it turns out you don't. And so anyway, I worked 20 years in resort hotels, and I was fortunate enough to work for a company called Marquis Hotels and Resorts. And our boss was a guy named Michael Passeri. Michael Passeri went on to be the president of the American Hotel Motel Association. And they had his coronation in the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. I mean, this guy was a genius. He graduated from Harvard Business School. He worked in the diplomatic corps. He was the chief of staff for the American ambassador in Berlin in the 50s and in Moscow in the 50s. So this was a ruthless Hungarian who beat us daily. Okay. And it used to say, the beatings will continue until morale improves. But you had to be on your toes. I mean, like you had to be on your toes. He knew everything the way it was supposed to be, and you could not fool this guy. Oh yeah, I'm going to make pasta carbonara. Well, it better be good because the chef of the Queen Elizabeth made it for me when we were doing our voyage from London to New York, tableside at my table. So whatever you make, Mr. Harman, better be pretty freaking good. So I grew up in that kind of an environment, and it's unfortunate because today we don't have that. Okay. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but I was the kind of guy that needed to be beaten to get my attention. I work well for slave drivers and really difficult people. Our college baseball players used to throw bats at us. And I'm not talking about like this. I'm talking about, all right. So anyway.
So you didn't make the same mistake twice then.
Well, the problem is you still did because you were stupid. You know, I mean, it's like you still do. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. But he at least got the feeling to know that you shorten the curve. Anyway, I operate. I think a lot of us we learn best under fear. Human beings, we do best when we're in fear because what happens is the fight or flight syndrome. It helps us pay attention. I can't pay attention if I'm goofing around, but man, when you scare me, you got my attention. And I'm not saying it's good motivator long term, but short term works pretty good. So here's what happens: everybody is trying to do 1,000 different things, and the problem is that there's really only 8 basic fundamentals you got to know. First one is you got to have a goal. What the hell are we trying to do?
Yeah,
where are we going? Now, Elon Musk is a good example, so we'll use him a little bit today. He wants to go to Mars. Everything he's doing is about going to Mars. He's going to start all these companies. He wants to go to Mars. And while we're talking about Elon, what do you think about Elon?
Oh, I love him. I got no issues with him. He's a different person and thinker than me, but I love the fact that he's got the money to actually speak his mind and do what he thinks is right versus what everybody else wants.
He's got the money because he speaks his mind. He has the money because he has the balls to do what he wants to do.
Yep.
That's what makes
I remember when he started Tesla. I remember when Tesla first came out, those little sports cars, and everybody thought he was crazy and this wasn't going to work. And here he is today. They still
do. Look at Twitter. Everything he touches, he's going to get beat up. And this is a very important lesson for everybody listening to this too, because he's not a conformist. Now, everybody thinks, oh, he's a nonconformist. He's bad. No, let's go back through time. Okay. Name anybody famous who was a conformist. You can't.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
Yep.
They don't exist. Thomas Edison was a rebel. Okay. Anybody, Rockefeller, nonconformist. See, the thing is that society keeps telling us that we all have to get along. We all got to be the same. Okay. There's no differences between us. Oh, and there's no gender differences either. Okay. And I don't want to get into that, but I don't know why I said it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to level the playing field by making everybody the same. Okay. And that's great. And 95% of the people in America are going to go along with that, and they're going to get what everybody else gets. So if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten.
Yep.
And so that's it. So back to 8 basic fundamentals. Fundamental number 1 is
goal.
You got to know what your goal is. Number 2, you got to have the owner mindset. That means the buck stops here.
Yep.
I'm the guy. If we burned some chicken lips today and we got a pissed off customer, that's my fault. Give them all their money back and give them a coupon to come back and get it again. Why? Because we screwed up. The third fundamental is you got to build a winning team. Not a shitty team, not a woke team, not a team of people who don't want to be here. A winning team.
Yep.
4, you got to have a customer-centric mindset, which means we're here to serve the customer. Not ourselves.
Hospitality.
Now, one thing I did learn in the last year is that the customer and the employer are the same dude.
What do you mean?
Okay, so as an owner, you own a company, I own a company, our employees and our customers are the same dude. Your employees are your customers. You serve them.
Yeah.
You treat them. Because at the end of the day, do we not want people to go, oh my God, I work for Matt. He is the greatest guy in the world. I love working for him. You know, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye guy. I feed the Iowa Hawkeye football team 2, 3, 4 times a week. Kirk Ferentz is the dean of college coaches. He's been there for 24 years. He is the most gracious human being. One of the top 3 most gracious people I've ever met in my life. And everybody who plays for him thinks he's the greatest guy in the world. Yep. But that's not true. 95% of them do. 5% hate his guts because it didn't work for them.
Yep.
He said, hey, you got to follow the system. If you don't follow the system, you can't be here.
Yep.
So we got to, but he understands that his customer is the player. See, as a chef, my customers are the cooks and the waiters and the busboys and the people who work in the restaurant, the cleaners. My job is to train them, to coach them, to teach them so that they can take care of their customer, who's the living, breathing customer. The owner supports the manager supports the staff support the customers supports the restaurant. That's how it works. But the customer and the employee are the same dude. We don't own the employee. And that's the one thing that's changed in the last 100 years in America, really, since 1900. Before that, if you had a job, you were lucky. Okay. And I want to come back to that. All right. So the fundamental number 4 is customer-centric brand. Number 5 is we got to increase sales. We got to bring in business. Okay. And there are 6 basic fundamentals, 6 ways to do that. The first way is keep the customers you have. Second way is to bring in new customers. The third is to sell them more stuff every time they visit. The fourth one is to get them to visit more often. The one after that is to get them to bring their friends. And the last one is to 86 bad customers. What's a bad customer? A bad customer is a two-top who's complaining that the price of a draft beer is too high at 8:00 on a Saturday night before Christmas. Man, I could have had a 4-top lawyer sitting there, but I screwed up and I got a couple of backward ball caps, and they're upset because the beer's $4.
Or it's the 8-top that brought in 8 coupons, and every coupon says 1 coupon per customer, and 5 of the 8 are expired.
Yeah, that's a bad customer. So sometimes you got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And everybody's afraid to do that. But what I'd like to do is get rid of my bad customers, give them to the guy across the street.
I just fired a customer 2 days ago. It's tough, especially in my business. I don't, we don't have as many customers as a restaurant. We only have a few hundred. And I had a customer that wouldn't play within our system, wouldn't work with my team, wasn't a team player, wasn't collaborative, which is what it needs to be. When you hire somebody to help you with marketing, freaking listen, have conversations, and sends me a text message saying, hey, this happened, something real minute. Either refund this $300, it was like $180 ended up being, or we're canceling our services. And I was just, that was like a veiled threat. And I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. It's already canceled, brother.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, it made me feel great. It was insulting that, number one, he didn't go through that was his thing. Like, here's the funny part about it. And let me ask you this, your opinion on this. So $100 in advertising money was spent over his $300 budget. So we went over budget by $100.
Yeah.
That $100 brought $800 in sales and like 300 people's information. So $100 got you a couple hundred people's information, which is worth a shitload down the road, and $800 in sales. Number one. Number two, the other portion of the money of why it went over the budget was, as you know, what we do a lot on social media has software tied to it. Well, his promotions, my team ran on his behalf, 3 of them, got 30 times the Facebook comments that his other 27 promotions he did on his own. 30 times. And so by our 3 Facebook posts having that number of people commenting, that triggers emails and texts and software usage. And so it spent about $75 to $80 too much on software. And I said, let me get this right. Your team made 30 Facebook posts. This is my mind. I can't fathom. You should be looking at a company that says, holy shit, your 3 Facebook posts just combined beat my 27. And yeah, you went $100 over budget. That's not what we want. But at the same time, it drove $800 in sales, of which 70% of them told us they were not coming. So it's probably in essence about $300 in net profit to the bottom line. And so for me,
on just that one thing, there's no residual in that.
The residual's 10 times.
Right. 100.
And so the process, what I look at when you talk about firing a customer is, one, he doesn't communicate how he's supposed to. Like, I'm not involved. I don't run that stuff. So he's got an account manager. We've tried for 6 months to get him as account man, to like get him on a call and email with his account manager. He refuses for some reason. He's way too busy. Even though I'm busy as shit and I get on the call with my people, he's way too busy. But then he sends this threat and I'm like, hey, threat taken, account canceled. No skin off my back, brother. I mean, I wish you were a client. I wish you played within the rules. Just like you said there, you gotta have bad clients that eat up your time. You're gonna have good clients that make it worthwhile.
Okay, so I thank you for sharing that. I think that's important for everybody to hear that, because this is the thing. Okay, I was going to bring this in later down the road, but while we're here, let's talk about it, because we're talking about fundamental 3 and 4: build a better team and be a customer-centric brand. So let's take that and put all that together in one basket and talk about it like this. Okay, it's culture. Okay, it's culture. Now, this is going to be a total deviation from what you thought we were going to talk about today.
Okay.
So I'm in the process of reading a book. I listened to it on audio. I listened to another book about the exact same subject, and I'm now reading this book. It is 700 and some pages. It's called Generations. It was written by these 2 guys in 1991, called Strauss and Howe. Okay. And the subject of the book is the future of America from 1584 to 2056 or something. Okay. And what they determined was, this is the whole thing that's going on right now. Okay. So everybody, and this is what I wanted to say. I think this is the central message that everybody needs to hear today. America is fractured. It's the red people against the blue people, the Democrats against the Republicans, the Protestants against the Catholics, against the Jews, against the Muslims. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are, we are all against each other. It's Iowa versus Iowa State. It's Florida versus Florida State. We're all fractured, okay? If you're not exactly like me and you don't agree with me 100%, then screw you, buddy. I'm not talking to you. Everybody has their place. They go to their place and they live there. And you know what? That's okay, because it's one of the side effects of the internet. You could say, okay, well, you know what? Everybody's a channel of one. I got my channel. You got your channel. When Elvis was running wild, he had 3 TVs in his basement: ABC, CBS, NBC. He could watch 3 TVs. You know why he did that? Because he heard Jack Kennedy had 3 TVs in the White House. So he didn't want him having anything up on him. So there were only 3 stations.
Yep.
Now think about this. If you were the president of ABC and you only had a 29% market share, you got fired. Because you didn't have 33. You got to have 33%. So if anybody gets 34, whoever the president of the low organization is getting canned because he didn't do it. So everybody had to agree, we're all going to be vanilla. Okay. And so what's happened is, hey, there's a channel for everybody. Doesn't matter what you're into. There's a ramen channel, there's a pizza channel, there's a pepperoni channel, there's a stuffed crust channel, everything you want. And so by separating everybody out that much, you really cater to everybody. So like, you know, used to have one newspaper in every town. Then they had Sports Illustrated. Okay. Look at how many different kinds of cereal you can get. Look how many different kinds of almond milk you can get. Okay. So everything is just divided up and up and up and up and up. When I was in high school, Fruit of the Loom came out with t-shirts used to be white. Then they came out with, you could get black and blue and green and red, and even had a little pocket on them. And today, if you don't have your logo on your shirt, you're like, what's wrong with it? Everybody's got their logo on their shirt. Everybody has a logo. Exactly. Everybody is about a me statement. And then they got their little world around them. And if you don't agree with me, then I don't agree with you and you're wrong. Yep. So that's where we're at. But so Strauss and Howe are talking about in generations, that a generation is 20 years. Okay. So I'm a baby boomer. Baby boomers are 1943 to 1960. I know that some people say 64, but Strauss and Howe wrote the Bible on this, and they say it's 1960. Okay. Then you got Gen X. Okay. 1960 to 1980. 20 years. You're Gen X, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then you got the millennials. They're from 1982 to, I don't know, 96 or something, 98, somewhere in there. Okay. And then you got Gen Z. Okay. And they're coming in now. And then you got the alphas. My grandson Cooper is an alpha. He's 3 years old. Okay. So what happens is, let's just take the boomers, the X, the millennials, and the Zs. All right. That is a cycle. Okay. Each one of those generations have specific traits associated to them.
Yep.
Okay. So the Zoomer, the boomers, I'm a boomer, you know, these 80-year cycles go back in time. They keep going back. Ben Franklin would have been a boomer. Another word for boomer is shit. Hang on. I made a note. Let me check my note. I got my Matt Plapp notes. Okay. So boomers are called idealists. Okay.
Yep, I've heard that.
Prophets. Okay. Prophets. So I want to have the fun. I'm going to draw. This is how I'm going to get everybody in this. Okay. So today is 2023. Okay. If we go and look at it on so Roy Williams, you know who Roy H. Williams is? The Wizard of Oz, smart son of a gun. So he wrote a book called The Pendulum. Okay. And what he says, he read Generations, and then he took it to marketing terms. There is at the epitome of where we are today, 2023, we are at the zenith of a we. And in 1983, we were at the zenith of a me. Okay. 1983, Madonna sings Material Girl. Big hair, Wall Street excess. Me. 2023, it's we the people. Okay. Now, if you're not exactly like us, then you're wrong.
Yep.
Now let's have fun. Let's take 2023, which is what we're getting ready to go into. Let's go back 80 years. What year was that?
2043 or was it 1943?
Okay, what happened in 1943?
Jesus, I don't know. I cheated in school. I mean, if I had to guess, let's see. The Great Depression was the late 20s, I think.
World War
43,
III,
maybe.
baby. World
Huh?
War
Well,
III.
I was gonna say one
War.
of the wars. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back 80 years from there. 1863, Civil
Okay.
War. Let's go back 80 years from there. Revolutionary War.
Hmm.
Now, what was common in every one of those things? Revolutionary War. We hate the English. The English hate us. We got the Tories, all factioned. Gigantic war. Go to the Civil War, North and the South, plus many. That was not just a one issue war. That was a multi-level. World War II, same thing. Okay, but look at what happened in Germany. Hitler in the brown shirts. If you're not exactly like us, you don't fit the mold, you're dying. You're going down. And that's where we are now. We're at the same place. And so here's my prediction. It's going to hit the fan. Something is going to hit the fan in 2023, 2024. Let's look around the world. Okay, let's go back to 1943. You get the Germans raising hell in Europe, and you got the Japanese raising hell.
Well, you got Russia and Ukraine still fighting in 2023, I'm sure.
And look at what China and North Korea are doing in the Pacific.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, something's gonna happen, and all these little things kind of led up to it. In 1943, you had the Depression that led to World War II. In our world, we had 2008 and 9, which is going to lead to whatever explosion we have in 2023. Something's going to happen. It's a tinderbox. It's getting really, really, really hot in here. Okay. And what's going to happen is, see, we hate them. We hate them. We hate them. We hate them. Something big will happen. It'll give us all one person to hate. We'll come together, hate that person, win that argument, and then everybody's going to be kumbaya, baby. We rock. We're all Americans. Let's go again. That's how it works. It goes in 80-year cycles. It just keeps going over and over. It goes all the way back. Christ was crucified at the zenith of a we. I mean, it's these guys studied this shit, and they can. You could argue it.
We just got done with a leadership training yesterday with my team, and one of the things that we talked about in the first training 2 months ago was the fact that this is the first time in a long, like right now, the generations that are still in the workplace, like 50 years ago, people were, you didn't have 4 or 5 generations working in the same restaurant.
That's a good point. I like that. I agree with that. And what it is, it has to do with the fact that okay, so I'm 63. Okay. I work 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, I went to work I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning because got to feed the Hawkeyes. They eat at 7. Okay, that's a lot of work, and I'm still working at 8 o'clock at night. I mean, but I tell you what, it keeps me young. It keeps me in pretty good shape.
Well, that's the training was. They had a little chart that showed that, when my dad, who works part time here, he's a consultant for me. He was here today. He's 75 years old, but when his dad was 75, the majority of that population was retired and they weren't working. And so like now you got 75-year-olds in this building. I have a 75-year-old. I've got somebody I got a couple people in their 50s. I've got a bunch of us in our 40s. I've got 30s and I've got 20s. I think the youngest we have in our building is somebody that's probably 20 years old.
All right. So how about this? Everybody talks about ethnic diversity. What you have is generational diversity. Think about how important that is.
Yep.
They're both important. Now listen to this. So the boomers, the biggest generation ever, okay, let's just throw some numbers at it, okay? So when the GI generation, World War II, the great generation, okay, there were, let's say, just for the hell of it, 80 million of them, okay? Then here come the boomers. We got 100 million of us. And then Gen X is 80 million again, all right?
Okay.
And the millennials. So we were the peak. So when my generation went into the workforce and your dad, there were more people, more Americans looking for jobs than at any time ever. Okay.
Okay.
That kept wages down. Simultaneously, you had offshoring of jobs to China, Japan, Mexico, wherever. That reduced jobs. That created the Rust Belt in places like Cleveland and Detroit and all that kind of stuff. So you had biggest generation ever, jobs leaving the country. And don't pay attention to the news because they're wrong. The biggest migration of Mexicans ever to come in the country happened during the prime of my life. Okay. Today, there's a spike today, but for the last 20 years, it's been on a very steady decline. And the reason you don't know that is because it's a political event and it's just covered by the media.
Oh yeah.
It is maybe not factual, or how to. Bill Gates, one of his favorite books is called How to Lie with Statistics. Okay, you ever read that book?
No, I've never heard of that one.
Great book. So it depends whether you use the mean, the median, or the median. The mean or the mean, the average, or the median. All different numbers. Okay. So I can give you 100 numbers and you pick the median, that's the number in the middle.
Okay.
It may not be the average. That doesn't mean that we took 100 plus 100 divided by 2 and the average is 100. There's so many ways to spin things. You can paint a picture any way you want to. It's called framing. Okay. Hey, I'm going to frame this debate over here. And so today, as the boomers retire, we're getting replaced by the Zoomers. And they're a very small generation. Now let's talk about the Zoomers. The Zoomers are between 10 and 26 years old. They were raised by doting parents who never let them out of their sight. Okay. And they were raised by the internet. Okay.
Yep.
They love computers. They love technology. They are not people. Okay. When I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. We had phone in the house with a cord.
You didn't have computers when you were a kid.
No, we didn't have any of this shit. We played outside.
Did you have electric?
Yeah. We had indoor plumbing even.
I'm just kidding.
I grew up in Vermont, so we didn't have air conditioning in the house. Rich people had window air conditioning. Okay. And believe it or not, it gets hotter than hell in Vermont for about 3 weeks a year. And so, but the thing is that we were outside kids. We talked to people. If you said something to somebody and they didn't like it, somebody's older brother, they're going to punch you in the mouth. And if your teeth fall out, you don't get them back. And you can't sue them. What are you going to sue them for? They don't get any money. So that was a different world. Today, if I don't like somebody, I just talk shit about them on the internet.
Yeah, I just keyboard warrior, baby.
Keyboard warriors. I love that term. So what's happening is there's 100 million boomers retiring and 75 million Zoomers coming in. And do you think they want to cook and clean and work in the restaurant business? Not on your life.
Yeah.
The restaurant business was founded on the back of immigrants. Pick a nationality: French, German, Italian, Irish, Black, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Doesn't matter. Because go to New York. Go to the 5 Points in New York. Did you see the movie Gangs in New York?
Yeah.
That's the greatest movie in the world. That happened at 5 Points in New York City. Yeah. My wife, first time I ever brought my wife to New York, we got out of the cab at the 5 Points. And that's where all the neighborhoods come together. And they hate each other. And they fight and killed each other right there on that spot. Bob the Butcher. Okay. And so it was just a different thing. And so rich, educated, computer literate white children do not want to wash dishes or cook or clean or get yelled at by a chef who's pissed off because he had to work 18 hours today and his feet hurt. This is the thing. This is what's going on. And so this is the culture. Okay. So just like you talked about your customer, you have to pick your customers. You have to hand select them. This is the first time in your life where if you hand select here's another way to say that. The product that you have is so good and so important and so special. It isn't for everybody. It's only for people who want to do what they need to do in order to survive.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I can't work with you. Why? Because you're not helping yourself.
Yep.
I work with some people that don't help themselves.
Yep.
I don't work
Yeah,
with them very well.
and that's where it comes down to understanding your culture, your core values. That's what this whole exercise for us was coming up with a core values that were non-negotiable, not only for when I interview people to hire them, but when we look at our employees in the eyes in a conversation about something that happened, is that match our core values? And then also with a client, hey, if you want to work with us, I know that we have the number one marketing company in the United States, in the world, for independent restaurant owners. Do you want to play ball with us? Cool. Here's our rules of engagement. Here's how we do business. It's the same way with a restaurant. Like, can't come into a restaurant, but in most cases, and say, hey, I see you guys are a steakhouse. I'm looking for a pizza.
Or how about this one?
And then complaining when they don't like the pizza.
That's a good example, but here's a better example, okay? And I'm not telling you your example was bad. This is a better example. If a vegan walks into a steakhouse, that's a better answer. Because, or a vegetarian, here's why. Because if you go to a vegan's house, they're not cooking steaks.
No.
But if a vegan goes to a steak eater's house, you got to change the menu to accommodate them. They ain't going to change the menu to accommodate you because you're wrong for eating meat. You see the difference? Not only do they not like what you got, who you are, and what you sell, they are diametrically opposed to you and hate your very existence because you eat meat. How dare you kill animals, you bastards? I'm a vegan. Don't you understand that? Has this vegetable been cooked anywhere near the blood of an animal? Yes, ma'am. Actually, we poached it in pig blood. I mean, come on. Isn't it? That's what it is. And so that is the extreme. And so I had a person who worked for me and very good cook. One morning we were putting stuff in hot boxes, getting ready to go to a catering, and she spilled some potatoes on the floor. Okay, little cube breakfast potatoes, and she's standing in them. And I'm like, hey, you gonna pick those up? And turned around and started screaming at me. I'm gonna pick them up when I'm done. Okay, so for what? The next 15 minutes while you're packing this stuff up, you're gonna be sliding around in the potatoes? See, what I did was I made a constructive criticism. That's what that was. Hey, listen, we got a rule here. You drop it on the floor, you pick it up, you spill it on the floor, you wipe it up immediately. Not 10 minutes from now. Oh, and by the way, you're trying to be the leader of this kitchen team, and you can't pick things up on the floor. What do you think the dumbest guy in the kitchen is going to do? He ain't never going to pick anything up on the floor. So it's all about standards. And the thing is that, like I was telling you, our coaches and my chefs that I worked for when I was a young person used to yell at us and throw shit at us. It wasn't show and tell, it was throw and yell. And so today, if you even suggest, that's yelling. You see, and it's different because it's like I had a kid, I swear to God, was upset with me one day because I sent a message in all caps. And this was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you yelling at me? Because if you put it in caps, that's like exclamation.
Oh, yeah. I remember my mom back in the day when my mom first got a cell phone and computer, and she's like emailing me and texting me all caps. I'm like, calm down, lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can people find you? Is it foodguru.com the best place?
Foodguru.com is my website. Okay. And so I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk about the things one more time. Okay. Ready?
Okay.
Fundamental number one, you got to have a goal.
Yep.
Who are you? Why are you here? What the hell are you trying to do? Number two, you got to have the owner mindset, which is the buck stops here. But it's more than that. What it is like, you got to be respectable. You got to be, why are you here? Why do you own a business? Do you own a business to make money, or do you own a business to give something to the world? Okay. See, I think your product gives something amazing and valuable to the world, to a group of people who desperately need it. The third thing is you got to build a winning team. Okay. Remember, winners hate working with losers and losers hate working with winners. Just like Democrats hate Republicans and Republicans hate Democrats. If you put together a team of Democrats and Republicans, they'll never get anything done. It's called the U.S. Congress. They never get anything done. Okay. And you can't have that. You cannot run a business like that. And this isn't about who you vote for. Remember that. I don't care who you vote for. Doesn't matter to me. They're all the same. So, but here is what's important. You got to have people who think alike. Okay. There's two ways to think about it. This group over here says, look, the deck is stacked against you. You have no chance of survival. The big bad wolf is going to eat you alive. So you need the government in order to take care of you. So you don't have to worry about these people out there. Okay. The other school of thought is, look, you want to eat? Get out of bed and go get a job. Those are the two schools of thought. And so you can't mix the two. You can't have entitleists working with people who want to work their ass off because the people who work their ass off are going to start to resent the people who don't do the work. Yep. We have a thing called play Pac-Man. Okay. Pac-Man, the game Pac-Man, you run around the screen eating shit, right? And there's even bonus points for eating special stuff. Whoever eats the most stuff gets the most points. Whoever gets the most points gets the most money. You know who does the most stuff at Gray's? Pedro. Nobody can keep up with Pedro. Pedro's a freaking machine. Okay. And I had 3 people saying, wow, that guy really is amazing. Oh boy. I said, yeah, guess what? You got to be like that. Oh, I'll never be like that. Good. And that's why you don't work here anymore. Yep. Goodbye. You got to go because so, and what's happening is people are desperate to find somebody who can fog a mirror, and it's just going to lead to higher payroll and death. If you let both people, the people you want and the people you don't want on your team, who are you going to chase off? The people you want. The good people will leave. If you would have kept that customer, you would have lost that service. You would have lost your employees because they would have just abused them. Eventually, if you had 10 clients like that, hey, we really need the money. All of a sudden, they're not going to be doing their best work. Oh, it's that ass. I don't like that guy. They're not going to do their best work.
Yep.
People like us do things like this. Okay. Seth Godin says that all the time. It's a great line. This is about culture. Okay. So I think that's real important. All right. So once again, goal, owner mindset, team building, customer focus, sales, increase sales. Matt Plapp is the best. Number 6, manage the freaking money. The goal of number 6 is really simple. Sales must be greater than costs.
Yep.
Pretty simple. Okay. But you should know what everything costs on the menu. You should know what everything on the menu costs.
You got to have accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards.
Yeah. And while we're there, all right, I want to go to 7 and 8, and I'm going to come back to that. Don't let me forget. Number 7 is you got to build a system. This is a recipe. This is how we do it. Not just recipes with pictures. This is what a baked potato, fully loaded baked potato looks like. There it is. What's the standard? 30 minutes. At Martini's Grill, we put baked potatoes in the oven at 4 o'clock. We serve those at 5 o'clock until 5:30. 5:30, every one of those go in the cooler. 5:30, new potatoes come out. Every 30 minutes, we got new potatoes. That is a standard. We've been doing it for 25 years. We have great baked potatoes. So you got to have a system. And number 8 is probably the most important one. And here's what number 8 is. It's called, how do we do this better? How do we do this better? How do we make sure that we don't hey, do we have any more customers like this guy? Who's your best customer? Who's your worst customer?
Yep.
Let's double down on our favorite customers.
Improve, innovate, adapt.
That's it. Number 8 is really, really important. And everybody's afraid of that one because they go, okay, it's good enough. Yep. No, the question is, how do we do it better?
Yep.
How do we do it better? And so what I do, and this is, you know what I do? Oh, you know what I do with my clients? I always thought I was going to teach them how to, to cost their menus better or do something like that. You know what I do? I'm their shrink. I listen to them talk. You know why? Because every restaurant owner needs somebody to talk to who understands what they're talking about, because you can't talk to your managers because they don't have any skin in the game.
Yep.
You can't talk to your employees because they're just waiting till Friday to get the paycheck. And you can't talk to your wife or your spouse or your friends about it because they're so freaking sick and tired of hearing about it that their head's going to explode. They won't even hang around with you anymore.
Yep.
So You need somebody to talk to who can help you understand and get this, Matt, give you permission to fire that customer. Give you permission to say, hey, it's not you. It's that Zoomer who doesn't have hospitality skills. It isn't you.
Yep.
It's that kid. So do yourself and get this, and that poor kid a favor. Get him off the team. Yep. Because he's miserable in your restaurant. He doesn't want to be there. The person I was talking about who was standing in the potatoes, okay, well, she eventually quit, okay? And you know where she's working now? This is a very talented culinarian. She's working at a jail. She's the chef at the jail. Steady hours, pretty good pay, amazing benefits. And that's what she wanted. And so she hates
didn't care about her craft, just wanted a job.
And what a waste of talent. But see, I thought she wanted to create and be a great culinarian. And the truth is, she wasn't interested in that at all. All she wanted was a set job, perfect hours, perfect benefits. And there's nothing wrong with that. So don't be mad at me. I set you free.
Yep.
I set you free. And I think that's what we have to do. We have these people who work for us who don't belong in the restaurant business. You know, if you look around right now, all those jobs are coming back from China. They're all coming back. And listen to this one, Matt. Since COVID, look how much, I'll bet you China's gross imports are down by 10, 15, 20% since after COVID.
Yep.
And I'll bet they're going to continue to go down. And the United States is going to go up. All of those, America, I have read numerous sources saying that America is retooling our factories faster than we did to get ready for World War II. We're bringing it all back. And there's no workforce to do it.
We're about to find one.
So we have to lean on technology.
Yeah.
You know, I think we do have to lean on technology to do a lot of the things, you know, and so it's like, yeah, some of these Zoomers really are going to be good. We just got to find the 5% of them that are really good with technology and have a little bit of, skill.
Yep. Well, cool. We covered a lot. This is where do they get the book at?
So Amazon.
So go to Amazon, buy the book, and leave a review, and let Mr. Peter Harman know what you thought of it.
I would love that.
Cool. I appreciate you carving out an hour today for me. Time for.
Hey man, thank you.
Hey,
I always love talking to you, Matt. Matt, you are really a special dude, and you have a very special company.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you keeping in touch. So you're really good at that.
I look forward to getting out there to Iowa in the next year and having some chicken lips.
What city are you in? Lexington?
Northern Kentucky, Union, Florence, up by Cincinnati.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, buddy.
Cool. Thanks, brother. See you.
All right. Bye.